Okay, so these days, everybody's on that AI train, right? And Copilot, for example, from GitHub will revolutionize, productivity for developers, etc. Will write your tests for you. Did you ever wonder, like, how good is it? Can it really do that for you? Yeah, so let's find out today. So my name is Julie. If you don't know, I work for Microsoft. I use Copilot on and off, but for yesterday, I had to work on a demo, and I needed to build a container image and push it to Azure Container Registry. So I said, hey, Copilot, can you help me write that pipeline? And then I want to, of course, deploy that image as well into a Kubernetes cluster. So I thought, hey, Copilot, could you help me do that? So before we jump in, a few disclaimers and some background context on my use case, which is why, not only I, but also Copilot stumbled a little bit. So first off, yes, I am a little prejudiced against Copilot. For the stuff that I do, it's meh. It's just like too new, and the ChatGPT models were trained on data that's just much older than what I do. The reason why my scenario use case is a little bit more complicated is I don't have a username and password on my container registry. So I use Azure Federated Credentials, and if you don't know what that is, you can kind of imagine it as it's like a passport, right? No username and password. So that makes things a little bit more complicated. I also have very granular role-based access control. I stumble in those types of issues, which I have to fix. I made a list. The other thing was I wasn't just using GitHub straight up secrets. I was using environments, right, which you can sort of tie to branches, etc., much more easily. So all these kind of like security best practices makes the sample code that GitHub Copilot spits out not work as well. But I also made a lot of silly typos. I wish Copilot would have spotted that. Okay, if you don't like the first half of the video and you find that I'm really mean, just skip to the second half. It's a little bit nicer for everybody, not just for Copilot. And finally, one more thing, I did take some jabs at multi-factor authentication using my work phone, which I said was really annoying. I just came back from several hours of climbing, and the reason why for me it's annoying is if you look at my skin, it's shot. And so even the MacBook Pro, it often doesn't work anymore for me. You should absolutely use multi-factor authentication. And if you don't have any other sort of methods to do it, use your phone. It's good for most people, unless you're a climber. All right, without further ado, let's get to it. We're going to use Copilot, but I do want to, in the meantime as well, show you what the app actually looks like. So I think there was a thing here to see if it's smarter. I'm going to let it index the repository. It works differently, I think, in VS Code. And by the way, disclaimer, I'm not an expert. I don't use Copilot that often. I find it kind of annoying. But let me do that. It's going to take a few minutes, and then we'll come back to it. So this is what I want to actually deploy. I've prepared already. I have certificates for the domain, which I've bought. Oh, I didn't add the DNS record. Anyway, I've also prepared, and that's what you were looking at here. So I've already established as well the credentials, and we're using environments and something called federated identities. And so basically this means that if you look at here with secrets and variables, there's nowhere like an API key, a type of secret. This is all done kind of using OAuth and trust mechanisms where the Azure part trusts any tokens issued by GitHub. And this is all establishing that trust relationship on the granular level, which client, and then, it goes on, it's tied to the dev environment, which should be tied to a particular branch, if I configure this correctly. No restriction. Okay, selected branches and tags. This is good. I'm finding this all as I go. So let's make sure this is just the main branch. So potentially as I add folks to help to contribute, then I wouldn't necessarily give them access to the main branch. Okay, Copilot is taking a lot longer than I thought. So that's the intro to the application we're going to deploy. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Do I have a Dockerfile? Please tell me I have a Dockerfile. Yes. So while we're at it, I can sort of quickly go over what a production level Dockerfile looks like. And so one of the things you'll notice that's super important when it comes to security is that I actually specify the user. In the default node image, right? So I'm choosing Alpine, which is a little bit slimmer. The user node is already created for you. If you don't specify something, I think you run it as root, which is not good, right? Because that's a user with elevated privileges. I'm doing layered images, so this builds everything. After that, I don't need all the other stuff, right? All I need is the Nuxt output, and so that's what I'm copying then to here. So all the extra modules, etc., it all goes away. Then here are some configurations. So behind the scenes for Nuxt, there is a Nitro server. That's just the backend server that they use. And so these are the things that you may want to configure. So you can see, okay, can you capture all the click events in JavaScript and automatically open them in a new browser tab if they are external links? So in terms of functionality, and actually let me do that. It takes forever to start up. But you remember that all those links or all those buttons, etc., they actually go to the official Azure documentation. And I didn't want it to, which is what it does by default, open in the browser. So GitHub Copilot says, sure, this is how you do it. The thing is, GitHub Copilot doesn't quite understand Nuxt.js to give me code that I can actually use. Right, and so I'll actually show you the bugs that it created. So first of all, the ChatGPT models that were used to create GitHub Copilot, they're like 2 years old. Because I'm using Nuxt, and Nuxt moves really fast. I think they have a major version released like every year. And so the Nuxt.js that it was like spitting out for me was useless because it was all wrong. There are major changes between version 2 and version 3. This is what Nuxt gave me. And this would work if you're just using like pure JavaScript. However, where does that go in Nuxt? And so it's not quite clear, right? And the way Nuxt works is that you have like stuff that looks like this. I have layouts. Theoretically, I could also put it in the layout. I have some script here. The thing is that I would have to copy it to multiple layouts, and you don't necessarily have access to the DOM. You don't necessarily have access to the document. And so I actually don't know how all of this gets put together. All I know is I love using it. It's super simple. What I eventually figured out by going through the Nuxt documentation, which is really good, is that I have here somewhere, let me close all of this, which is confusing. It's not in content, it's not in components, so let me close that. Let's see where it is. Those are server plugins. Here we go. So not server plugins, I want front-end plugins. I specifically put in the file client.js, so that it only runs in the browser. Otherwise, you'll get 500 errors because basically document does not exist as a global object on the server side. It's not in the browser. Window does not exist when you're running this code in Node. And so if you compare actually the code that I have and the code that this has, this doesn't work. So one of the things, if you just copy and pasted this, you're like, why does this not work? It assumes actually you have links with the full URL, including the host, so the FQDN at the front, localhost, whatever. I use relative links, or rather Nuxt uses relative links. So if it starts with that, where the absolute, like the first thing is a /, I don't want it to redirect, right? So I had to add this in like myself. And that's what it's like using Copilot. Like it's just, it generates stuff, but sometimes it's wrong, and it doesn't know it's wrong. Generate a YAML GitHub Actions workflow. It's actually GitHub Workflows, but whatever, in case it doesn't understand, we'll say GitHub Actions workflow. YAML file to build this, build the Docker image for this project, and then to push it to Azure Container Registry. Let's see what it does. That's good. That's correct. Put it in GitHub Workflows. The registry name, the image name, not bad. It uses Docker login. Interesting. Okay. And build and push the Docker image. Okay. It's doing it on main branch, which is good. Okay, so this is the baseline, right, in terms of how to log into a container registry, which makes sense, right? You want tooling to provide code that should work for everybody. So there's a couple things we have to change here. So I have no password and I have no username for the Azure Container Registry. It's disabled. And I have to use a different login method via Azure to actually get access to the registry. So what I've done with federated credentials, as I kind of explained in the beginning of the video, if I didn't cut it, is that I've established a trust relationship between Azure and GitHub. So when GitHub runs the pipelines and they're always on fresh agents, that agent gets an identity. Everything is OAuth based. So the identity is very specific to the repository. And actually, because I did this last night, you can see what the token looks like. Where would it be? GitHub identities. So it's a little bit too big. So this is something that custom that I made. Everything needs to have a name in Azure, so I just use that as a prefix, but you'll see that it references the organization, the repository, and the environment, and it should be in here. What this ends up looking like is this, right? Which probably, if I type it out nicer. So the subject of the OAuth token is going to look like Julie Ng. This is going to be, it's called AKS cheat sheets. And then this is called dev. So GitHub will issue a token that has this subject line in it, right? And all the tokens are signed, so you can't manipulate the token. It also depends on or relies on, for security, that I've set as well branch protection that not just anybody can push something to the dev branch, which would trigger this pipeline. So that's the, let's say, authentication mechanism that I'm using. Now, what I have to do is, and let me just undo this and close this one. So let's start with this. Okay, GitHub Workflows. I created a space before, which I hated. All right, let's just do this. AKS cheat sheets. Let's make sure we get there. Okay. I'm in this branch. Okay, let's just do this. Whip, work in progress. I don't want to be on that branch. Let's go to main. I'm going to build it directly in main. Not the best idea either, but whatever. Let's do this, and then it's called Workflows. So the reason why I do this is that one time I accidentally created, when I did this, like in here, I created something with a space in it, and it didn't work. And you can't tell from here, unless you happen to notice that it's a few pixels off, that there's a space. So that was really annoying. All right, so let's do a new file, and I'm gonna call it, let's just call it Docker. I know it's not a Docker image, but whatever. Let's just do that. So we have this. Let me bring it over here. Oh, sorry. This is just one window. I had Copilot. That was really big. I already know this is not going to work, so I'm going to go look at one of my repositories and see how I did it. So this is the cheat sheets, which is currently still private. This is an old one. Yes, so this one will work. All right, so these are the secrets that I want. This is using environment, all right? Let's see. There's a lot of stuff in here. All right, on push. Oh, because I didn't do workflow. Yeah, all right. Let's give this, though, cloud cube. I think that's what it's called. CR, I forgot the container registry part. Yeah, there we go. Close that. I don't need that anymore. I do need this. I don't remember where secrets goes because this is a workflow call, but that's fine. Let's do this. Indentation correct? Yes. Let's just do that. So I'm going to ignore the environment piece. Let's do jobs. It does do build and push on Ubuntu latest. Let me make this a bit bigger for the video and close that. And what I want to do, as you see here, is I want to use the Azure login. So it does checkout. Interesting. It does V2. That's how you know ChatGPT is old. Let's do the latest one, V3. Now it's doubled. So, yeah, okay, that's why the dash is missing. It has a name for that step. So let's check out. I'm going to log into Azure, and all I'm doing is passing those things into it. Now what I have to do is log into the registry, and instead of using the Docker standard username and password, what we're going to do is log into ACR. I'm going to keep my name, the name that I use. I like that better. And what it'll do, you see that it's running the Azure CLI, and it's going to convert the token that you receive by logging into Azure to something that the Azure Container Registry will understand. So I'm going to assume this works. Maybe. No, I'm going to assume that does not work. I don't know what this task does under the hood. So let me grab what I know works, which is this. Docker build. I'm going to skip the scan. We don't need that. And let's just do Docker push. So I have the image name. I have an input, which is a tag. Okay. Let me just do image name. I'm going to call it, whoops, come on. AKS cheat sheets. And then I'm just going to, for now, tag, I'm just going to call it dev. Not great. So inputs that, I'm going to do env instead of tag. What was it? Image tag. I think that's what it was called. Env image name and env image tag. Yes, there we go. Env ACR registry. So it's registry name. Let's just do this registry. That's what I have below. So what I don't remember is secrets, where that goes. Let's see, workflows. This one is use secrets. Nope. Let's do this. Really? That's it? I can just use it? Okay. That's nice. Yeah, you can tell that I haven't done this in a while. So let's get rid of that. And this, let's get rid of. That should just work. It's probably because, and this is where, like, for where I am with this project, this, what's over here, is over-engineered. So let's add this, and we're gonna call it try Cop. No, it didn't really try Copilot. Build and push Docker image. So let's see what happens if I do this. Did I type that correctly? Yes. So let's come back to here. Let's go to this and see if this works. It's still indexing. This may take a few minutes. This is a tiny repository. Yeah, all right. Woohoo, that already failed. R supplied, auth type is correct. Yeah, boo-hoo. All right. So auth type is service principal with client ID, subscription ID, and tenant ID. All right, let's look at this. Subscription ID, tenant ID. Auth type service principal. All right, let's see what this looks like. While we're waiting for it to run, you saw that I occasionally use Copilot, but I never trust everything out of it. Where I have found it to be useful was actually for calculating IP address spaces. Again, I'm not networking subject matter expert, so that was like really good. What is this? Oh, checking out the code, that's fine. Not all values are present. Why is it not present? All right, let's look at this again. So repository secret. So this is valid in the entire secret. It should already be there. Those are secret variables. The client ID, it's in the dev environment. Oh, I'm wondering if I have to refer to it in a specific way. Manage environment secrets. Learn more about configuring environments. So let me see what it tells me there. And so this is another example where I think ChatGPT is probably useless unless GitHub build extra stuff, content in there to say this is how you use it. Oh, that's why. Environment. There we go. Runs on and let's, whoops. Environment is going to be dev. So now it should have everything. That means that before it would be missing that one thing, which is the client ID. These two are not enough to be able to log in. It needs the client ID. Let me see if there's anything else that I might be missing. Push, branch, da-da-da-da. It might not need the token, but let's just do this. Double check I didn't accidentally put anything else. CI, add environment, a ref to GitHub environment. Push. Let's come back to actions. Why you no running? Refresh. There we go. Let's do this again. Go look at it. I wish on my phone I could check my calendar. They being Microsoft, force employees to use like what they call dog food versions. It's like not even beta. It's so bad. It's so broken. And for about 2 weeks now, I don't have access to my calendar on my Mac or even on my work phone. It just says no event. Oh, that doesn't matter. All right, that still didn't work. This worked. That's good. So it logged in. So this did not work. The name expected one argument. So it said my registry, or no, that's the example from AI knowledge base. All right, knowledge base. Let's see. Okay, insufficient scopes. What does that mean? Let's see, set up jobs. Let's look at this, the GitHub token permissions, contents read, runner image, the login, who you logging in as, it's using that, no session, environment, service principal, that's what that is. All right. So it's not giving me the name, which is what I'm looking for, of the service principal who it's logging in as. But I guess that makes sense. It's just using the client ID. So I could log in. This should be correct. Let me just check. It's this repository. They always do this, which I don't like. It has nothing in it? Really? And of course, what I should be doing is, while that starts up, I still use Google. Like I can ask. Copilot, I'm not optimistic, but what does this error message from GitHub Workflows when trying to push to Azure container registry, I'm just always more explicit, mean? So I'm gonna put that there. Shit, Sherlock. It has the right role assignment. I'm not using username and password, so this doesn't make sense. All right, let's do the login to ACR. Google what that means. GitHub Workflows. Azure Container Registry. Yeah. Really? You're using login. Okay, the baseline is to do that. All right, I'm just gonna double check that I have the proper login server. Oh, that's why. I'm so stupid. The registry. So the image name is not enough. I've tagged it with that. Let's do keyboard. All right, and that should be it. Do I need to put the registry in the tag? Actually, I might. So that means when I tag it, I will need it too. And ACR registry. Okay. And yes, that's all I did. ACR registry. Add registry host name to tag. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so now the error message makes sense, right? If you don't specify a host name, what it's going to try to do is actually push to Docker Hub, which is the default. And so obviously Docker Hub's like, I don't understand who the hell you are. Because I'm trying to push to Azure Container Registry. Okay, please work. This is gonna be one of those videos. I wonder if you like this type of video, it's so long, right? But I mean, this is like what it's like to watch an engineer work 20 minutes ago. Yeah, I feel like I've been recording for about an hour. And actually, I haven't cached everything yet. So in terms of the pipeline, this is slow-ish running. You can cache things like the node modules, etc., to make it those initial steps run faster, or the checkout. Although I'm building the Docker image, which builds the... No, it's getting copied. Actually, I'm wondering... No, it's good. I'm not doing an npm build here. Yeah, so it's fine. Never mind. Never mind. Oh, I need my second coffee. So what I'll do, and I'll do it when I get home tonight, is, so this was the first step. The second step is then, of course, to deploy it in a Kubernetes cluster. Theoretically, and Kubernetes YAMLs haven't changed that much. I'm hoping Copilot can generate those YAMLs for me, and then it should just work. So I already have the cluster up and running. I already created a namespace for it, so it should just work. But let's see if the image pushes. Okay. It should now have... It pushed. All right, now I can go to work, and then we'll try to do part 2 later tonight. Okay, so I'm back from the office. I went in for a call, but also mostly for a gym class. And because people I know weren't there this afternoon, I decided to come home, which also means I could potentially record something between calls. So this morning, via trial and error, managed to deploy a pipeline, or rather create an Azure Workflows pipeline that pushed this image into the Azure Container Registry. And so the point of this video was to let Copilot help me. So we're going to try that again. And what I now need Copilot to do is generate all the YAMLs, right, to deploy this on a existing Kubernetes cluster. So, oops, that opened the wrong app. Come back in here. So this is, running on an AKS cluster. This is sort of the default. What I'm probably going to do is, even though I have all the certificates, etc., for this akscheatsheets.dev domain, I just realized I would need more YAMLs to pull those from the Azure Key Vault with managed identity, etc. So what I'm probably going to do is, just for the purpose of, this video, just do something like this at AKS cheat sheets. Just get a subdomain in there and see if I can deploy it. This was dev. So I don't think that there was anything in this repository that would help Copilot actually create YAMLs for me. Really? It's still indexing? It's not a few minutes, it's a few hours. Wow. You're slow. You're still indexing after a few hours? I don't think it'll respond. You don't? But that's what the thing is saying. Yeah. Oh, this is funny. If you have further questions or need assistance, feel free to ask. So we have Bing for Work that has Copilot, right? And so I was asking something about IP address planning. And because it scans stuff from all the internal SharePoints, etc., people include text all the time that says, and I do this too, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And so I said, reach out to whom? And then Copilot was like, you should reach out to your manager. In fact, you have a one-on-one call in 2 weeks. Should I put that on the agenda? And I'm just like, my manager's a people manager. I don't think they know more than I do when it comes to IP address planning, but that was kind of funny. Okay, focus, Julie. Okay, focusing now. What I need to do. So I wanted to create the YAMLs. Since this is not helpful anyway, and I don't think the indexing will help, let's just go back to, actually let me quit Teams in case notifications pop up. Let me quit this in case something pops up there that I'm not, supposed to show. All right, Visual Studio Code. So let's make things a little bit bigger and easier. Wrong repository. There we go, cheat sheets. Let's come back. Okay. Let's see. Please generate some YAML for Kubernetes deployment for this application. That's probably not very specific, but again, I didn't do any prep on what can Copilot do, right? This is a prime example of user experience testing. Somebody who's not informed, what would they do? Hey, this actually this looks pretty good. So let's see what they generate. Okay, it's explaining everything, which I guess is good if you're like brand new. And it says replace these things, etc. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to do that from the pipeline. That was already painful enough. I'm just going to do that locally. Let me see if I'm logged in. That's the easiest way. I'm probably not. All right, let's log in then. Let me copy that. Yes, it's me. Notifications. I really prefer YubiKeys. I hate this system. I have to do fingerprint to unlock this damn thing, enter this, then another fingerprint to verify this, and it's just sort of, ugh, I'd just rather use a physical key. All right, so now I should be logged in. Great, so that means I can do a kubectl apply locally, which is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna switch branches, create a new branch, and I'm just gonna call this K8s. Yeah, we'll just do that for now. We'll just call it Kates. Let's see. There are so many different folders. Let me create one called manifest, because I'm sure that Nuxt doesn't have a requirement for a manifest folder. So let's do that. And actually, before I go back to Copilot, let me think what I need. So it did a deployment, so I definitely need a deployment.yaml. What else do we need? A service. We're gonna need that. I already have a namespace, I think. Actually, this is really small, so in case people want to see that. I already have a namespace, I think. I created, yes, AKS cheat sheets. So I have a deployment, I have a service, I need an ingress object. Ingress. What else do I need? I think I said I'm going to reuse the TLS certificates from cloudcube.io, so I'm not going to create all those secret provider classes. I think that's it. If I forget, we'll find out. All right, let's go back now to, to VS Code. And let's look at the deployment, and we're gonna copy and paste this. All right, so instead of my application, I'm just gonna call it AKS cheat sheets. 3 is a lot, I only need 2. And then this was, if I remember correctly, called CloudCube CR. I think I called it AKS cheat sheets. And I think this was called dev, container port, I think it was 3000. Dockerfile, yes, here, line 16 is 3000. So, I think part of this is gonna fail because I have multiple node pools, and it's going to say, where do you wanna put this? Let's see what happens. I'll just let it fail and then we'll fix it as we go. I think this is not going to work. Yeah, I guess we'll just do this and I can see if it actually deploys. Let me just double check that that's the right image name. Repositories, AKS cheat sheets, dev, perfect. All right, let's see what happens. That's what it said I needed. I know my YAMLs usually have a lot more stuff in there, but let's see what happens. All right, does it say namespace? No. Okay, but I think I can just do this. And actually what I should do is at the same time, I don't need to be in this folder, but I'll just log into that so we can see what's going on. All right. Lots of stuff. Okay. If we have a namespace, let's go into AKS cheat sheet. So there's no pods running right now. Haven't done anything. And if I move this over a little bit, I can make it like this. All right, so I do have my deployment YAML. Let's do kubectl, which I've shortened to K, apply -f, deployment. Let's put it in the namespace AKS cheat sheets. What? Yeah, not Apple, apply. Oh, apply. Error image pull. No. And actually you'll see as well, or I see immediately, this is trying to load it on the system workload, node pool, which it shouldn't be. They should all end up on the workload node pools. And let's go see what the error is. Describe. Failed to fetch anonymous token. CloudCube CR. This is supposed to be pulled using the managed identity. The kubelet should already have that permission. Let's just double check that. It should be this. Let's see if I can pull it. Docker pull CloudCube CR Azure CR.io AKS cheat sheets dev. And I have access to it as well. Unauthorized. Do I have to tell it? It's been too long. All right. Assign roles, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I have to do the same thing of that. AZ ACR login, and I don't remember the parameters. In order for me to pull it anyway. So that's the name of the registry. And then, do I need anything else? Suffix, password, no. Okay, so ACR login, and mine was called CloudCube CR. So what that's doing underneath the hood is converting the token or the credential that I have via AZ login into a form that Azure Container Registry will recognize. So now if I do this, it should work. Okay. So that means there's some authentication funkiness going on. Oh, actually, maybe the kubelet doesn't have permissions to that registry. That would really surprise me, but that would explain everything. So let's come back to here, and if I have to, I will blur out this part. Role assignments, and let's look for kubelet. Found it. Okay, no assignments for the kubelet. All right, let's go do more. Let's go do more stuff. Let's see. Where would I find this? Okay. This is always the hard part. Where is the thing that I'm looking for? And so I have so many infra as code repositories. So there is a Terraform repository, or I have a repository with Terraform code for the AKS clusters, which creates the managed identities. However, I want to do a role assignment on the container registry. And so I would personally prefer to put the role assignment as close as possible to the thing that's, you're exposing. And so I'm actually going to come here, which is where I think it's created in the shared infra repo, and find it. And so that's the federate identity. Indeed. So this is where the container registry is. Role assignments. So user assigned identity. I thought I did that. Oh, I actually only gave it to Key Vault. I did not give them the kubelet. Yeah, well, it's the kubelet anyway that needs access to the container registry. So, okay, let's see. Ingress users. Let's look at the variables that I have set here. Let's go to variables first. What am I looking for? That's not it. DNS records, identities, key vaults. I'm wondering how it knows. like how it knows the name of that. If it's pedantic me, where you use convention over configuration, it's not defined anywhere. It's just going to be kind of assumed. So let me just look at this. Where is that? Ah. Main. Okay, so it is set here. So, and I put it as an ingress config. If I refactored this, I would actually just say in general, like the kubelet, just specify the kubelet. The kubelet needs access to various things, not just the key vault. So this is a typical Julie convention over configuration. So what I'll do is copy some of that same code, which is not very good, but whatever. So it is iterating through all of these. And so that means I'll already have the data bit to a certain extent. So what I'm going to do is I'll do another role assignment. And I'm going to say it is the kubelet on container registry. So it's going to go through ingress configs. And actually, let me just open it up in a different window. Main. So that was, where was it? Here we go. That was this piece here. Let me highlight it. Maybe make this, and actually let me flip this angle. Don't hit the camera. So let's see. The scope is not going to be the key vault, right? And there's a key. Oh dear. Okay, then let's not do the for each. There's only one anyway. And I'm actually just gonna hard code this. It's looping through things because theoretically I have one for staging, you have one for production. The reason why I'm not running multiple clusters is because they also track how much we spend on Azure. And so it's like, okay, I'll be a good girl. I'm only really using one. I'll only deploy one. All right, so let's just do this hard-coded. That's fine. Let's just do dev kubelet on the Azure Container Registry. I'm going to find the registry. Container registry, so it is going to be scoped to the container registry. The name of the registry that I put is here, ACR. So I'm going to scope it to that. The role definition name is going to be ACR, not ARC, pull. So I don't want to give it push, right? The GitHub agents, I gave it push, which gives it both read and write, or so pull and push. For the kubelet, I just want it to be able to pull images. And so what I'm going to do is, all right, I will, because this is also stuck in a loop. Although I could theoretically do, the key is dev. All right. Yeah, so theoretically the key is dev, and this should work. Now let's go back to shared infra. I'm too lazy to type all that out, so I just created a make file, and lovely, it says it doesn't work. Has not been declared in module cloud cube. Oh, Azure RM. Of course that doesn't work. Let's see. Double Azure. So now it's just Azure RMs for Azure Resource Manager. Let me hide that for now. Was there another thing? Okay, dev. Yeah, it's a string. I didn't do that. There we go. I don't know. A lot of these things you learn by just doing, like trial and error. And it's kind of through that experience, right? That's how you learn and you remember what to do. So how many times as an engineer or developer have you forgot to just put quotes around your strings? I think those are the types of things that are really frustrating, right? In terms of being an engineer, but that's part of the role. And, you know, Copilot will sometimes find those like silly bugs for you, but at the same time, I'm also kind of a little proud every time, like, oh yeah, I remember how to do that. I know how to do that. All right, let's see this. Yeah, I can just skip this. No, actually, no, it's not. Well, let's keep that because it's not a service principal. It's technically a managed identity. All right, let's just do TF apply plan. And then actually, if this works properly, then let's exit here, come back to this if I can do that. Okay. So if this works properly, right, it creates the role assignment, then this should just be able to suddenly pull the image and do it. What's taking a while is it's probably because it's doing the check. Okay, there we go. It's all done. Now, since the kubelet will be retrying things by itself, let's see. I'm not going to count, but it should eventually try again. Yeah, so it did do 42 times over 12 minutes. So let's see when's the next time it tries. I don't know how often it does it. All right, let's do something easier. Just delete it, and then it will try it again by itself. So I'll leave that old one, and if I make this wider, you'll see this one's a bit older. 13 minutes. Let's see if the 9 seconds, 11 seconds. Woohoo! It works. So I guess this one, I don't know if it eventually gave up. And it's also running on the system node, which is not what I want, but I'll add that a little bit later. Let's delete that. So it's also creating that. I'll fix all of that later. Okay. Let's see. Let's come back to, that's the application. Let's come back here. So we have a deployment. Now we need a service. Okay, so let's go back and talk to Copilot in our AKS repository. Okay, help me write a YAML for the service, Kubernetes service object. Okay, that's not bad. Okay, improve the YAML by making it for HTTP traffic to port 3000 and use type cluster IP. The port I want is 80, but I want to target 3000. Does it always say TCP? I don't remember, it's too long. Okay, and also add this object to the AKS cheat sheets namespace. Mostly I'm just seeing if it really understands my terrible Copilot speak. Hey, it did. All right. Let's copy this. Let's look at service, and it is going to be called AKS cheat sheets. So it's in that namespace. I actually probably should then put in deployment the same thing. Now the selectors cheat sheets. Remember I said target should be actually 80, or well, I want to use port 80 and then hit 3000. So, all right, let's try that. And okay, kubectl apply. Why do I keep typing Apple? Okay, and actually let me just do deployment again. Unchanged. Okay, it probably, even though I added namespace, it's like, you're already in that namespace, is what I'm imagining. SVC for service. Okay, cluster IP, it has no internal, that's about right. Let's see, it says it's listening on 3000. That sounds about good. All right, then finally, okay, now I need an ingress. object for this application or for this service. Let me see if it still understands the context. And what else? It for an Nginx ingress controller, and use the host name aks cheatsheets.cloudcube.io. All right. I hope that works. It's been too long since I've done that. Ingress. So what we're gonna do here, aks cheat sheets ingress. So that's the name of this object. Before we created the aks cheat sheets service. Port, I don't know if I need to specify that. It should just be 80. Because the service is, I put it for 80 and not 3000. That should work, I think. So it is configured to use the Cloudcube IO as default. And so let's see what happens. Okay, apply, not Apple. And let's do the ingress. Warning. Ingress class name instead. All right. Yeah, we'll fix that later. It's deprecated. I think it should still work. Let's look at ingress. So it has no class. Let me just look at all namespaces and compare it to this one. Okay, it does like that. And it's ports 80 and 443. Let me look at this YAML. Backend is hello world. Name, port, number. How come that one has 443 and I don't have 443? I have the OWASP stuff there. Yeah, let's just do ingress class name is Nginx, and then it has rules. HTTP paths backend. I have TLS hosts. Okay, then you know what? I probably need to do that. Okay, and that is under rules. All right. Okay, so let's change this. It's ingress class name, and I think it's camel case like that. Ingress class name, yes. Is Nginx, so this is the rules, and then, oh, lovely. Let's just do this then. TLS, hosts, and then it's dev.cloudcube.io, although I think you can do like, yeah, it should be like that. And then the secret name is going to be ingress TLS dev. All right, I think this should work. Paths backend. All right, let's try this again. Invalid value. All right. Probably doesn't like that part that I typed by hand. Indeed. Okay, let's go back to TLS host, and host is also, there we go, host, this, and the secret name. So let's try that again. Oops, not the deploy. There we go. Now that's configured. Now let's go back, and it still says class is none. Okay, that one is oops. Spec ingress class name. Okay, I think that's what. So this is different. let's just remove that for now. Okay, now it has that, and it is using the same IP. So let's see what happens if I do. Check if there's a typo. Oh, that works. Okay. Let me check, what does the DNS record look like? It's always DNS. Record sets. Oh yeah, so I don't have that. So what I do have is .dev. All right. Then that means I need to do this, .dev. And yeah, actually, I didn't change this either. AKS. Although, will it find that? Yeah. It's just referring to the secret name, so it should be fine. It's been so long. Okay. Go. Now let's try it again. So that's why I couldn't find it. So dev. Yay! All right, this is now online. Okay. We'll see how long it takes me to actually edit this video. Wow, you made it this far, like the full hour. Let me know if you enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely give me please a like and a subscribe. That really helps me out. Let me know in the comments if you watched all of it. Did you skip parts of it? Did you find it not just entertaining? Did you learn from watching me make all those silly mistakes? I also, when I was editing, I was worried that like I have so many keyboard shortcuts. Can people even follow, even when I turn them on? I'm trying to get in a habit of actually publishing more regularly, and I don't have like a content plan. It's kind of like, do I have time to squeeze in something? Do I have opportunity to record something? So let me know what you're interested in so that I can keep an eye out for those types of opportunities and try to put out more regular content, which is fun for me. So again, if you made it this far, thank you very much. I've put in probably some hours on, we had a public holiday on Thursday, which is when I went climbing and recorded the intro, and then some yesterday, and right now it's Monday, and I'm just turning this camera on really quickly before going to bed because I'm going to export this and try to release this tomorrow on Tuesday. And I'm saying that to hold myself accountable. And so with that, good night, and see you in the next one.